It's not working. Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Welcome to the Breakdown Podcast. It is Sunday evening. Apologies for the lateness. Streaming software did not want to play this evening whatsoever. It just kept crashing. But hopefully you can hear me loud and clear, if nothing else. Well, what shall we talk about? Another loss. It's a problem. It's a problem. And if I'm being blatantly honest, and this is partially based on opinion, and it's partially based on some stuff which is kind of, being talked about. I'm not sure Omar Rhys makes it into January. And I know that sounds like, wow, what's going on? But, you've got to look at it. If you just look at it, what we know is they weren't sure about him. What we know is that the prime time to appoint him, when they were initially going to, they didn't, because they had some whatever worries or issues around that appointment. They only really appointed him when there was pressure from fans via the fab letter and stuff like that, and it felt like they were just trying to shut up, basically. And it haven't been good recently. I didn't expect us to win yesterday going into the game. I didn't. I know in my preview I said I think Cardiff City 1-0 win, but I'm never going to go against us. But as an attacking threat and a creative threat, we're not doing a great deal, and that is a problem. Obviously, we've got a lot of injuries. My concern is Omar Rhys is a guy who's learning on the job. Omar Rhys is a nice bloke. You speak to people who work with him on a daily basis and under him and around the club. Everyone, no one's got a bad word to say about him as a guy. He's clearly a nice guy. I said numerous times when we were trying to decide whether, when the club was trying to make a decision, is he going to be the manager? Are we going to get someone in? Blah, blah, blah. I said that it was vital that if they appointed him till the summer, till January, whatever it was, they had to get some coaching staff in there to help him because he's learning on the job. Now, I'm not saying that having those coaching staff in would suddenly make some of these players better players. But you know what we need? In my opinion, we need a manager who can motivate. We need a manager who doesn't necessarily want, at this moment in time now, because let's be honest, we are in the shit now. I've said all season I didn't think we would end up in a relegation battle, but you cannot have the form that we have, keep losing football matches, not look like scoring, and not be in the shit. We have been close to going down in recent years. The obvious one being kept up because Reading got a point deduction. We've come close, and it is a worry that this year will be the year that we finally go down if something doesn't change. Now, I'm not saying that we should change the manager. I'm just saying you look at those people who run that football club. Would you be surprised if they appointed an interim manager till the end of the season and then sacked him a few weeks later? No. Well, let's be honest. Let's be blatantly honest. I just think now we might need someone who has got a bit more of a motivator around them and a bit more disciplinarian about them. Because I do think, and I'm not going to name names, I do think there's players in there who are not putting a shift in. There's players in there who are taking a piss. Not necessarily yesterday as such, but just generally speaking. And I'm not entirely sure that Omar Rhys is an experienced enough manager to pull them all in line. Because I don't know. I just wonder. Like for instance, I see a couple of guys on Twitter who've said all along that they believed we were in a relegation battle, and they thought we should be getting someone in instead of paying Sam Allardyce as an advisor. We should be getting him in as a manager till the end of the year. And I was like, Jesus, no. We don't need to do that. Let's just get the managerial appointment right and get the structure around him right. But with all these injuries and the form we're in, like this Christmas period makes or breaks you because there's so many games close together. And I'm worried that, we could come out of this festive period and not got a point. We could be in real trouble. It's difficult because I look at that squad and I still think on paper there's 2 signings and you could be cooking. I really do feel that. But then I look at Darden has had a bit of a nightmare yesterday. He doesn't look quite at it. And, we don't look after the ball. So, it's all very well being defensively solid. And as we discussed with this system, it's very, very flexible. So you can be 5 at the back, which is what we kind of did yesterday with Rena Motwell and Bagan as your wing backs. That's fine. I haven't got a problem against that against top of the league. But I think you have to have something on the break. You have to have something that when you can pinch a ball, somewhere on the pitch, you can get at them quick and you can create something on that break. And we just, it just wouldn't. It just wouldn't. I don't know. I will say, so just back on to what I was saying about Sam Allardyce and other people. So there's been people who've been saying on Twitter, all along, we need an Allardyce, we need a Moyes, or we need a Cooper because we're in that situation. And I think Fact Steve has just said that he's spoken to Sam Allardyce himself and he wouldn't touch the club due to tan. I've got no reason why that wouldn't be the case. It's a difficult one. Personally, if you put me on the spot and you ask me where we will be on a managerial point of view going into the Swansea City game, and I will say this, it's not based on any information, it's not based on anything other than an opinion. And my opinion is that there is at least a 60 or 70% chance that going into that Swansea City game, Steve Cooper will be the manager. And let me tell you why. It's purely just my own, I've created it in my own head. So I'm not saying it's going to happen or it's nailed on or anything like that. But if you look at it, he's probably one of the better managers available. He's got links to the club through his father. I don't think generally people have an issue with him coming in. I think it's more who his assistant is. So there's ways around that, obviously. Fuck him off. Don't bring him in. And then lastly, if you look at it from a board stroke owner club point of view, and the form is terrible, so you've got to make a change, or they feel they've got to make a change. They do like a big name, and I think Steve Cooper's arguably a pretty big name within Championship football, certainly. He's got a good record, he plays good football, etc., etc. But you know what else from their point of view? The worse our form gets, the more substantial that protest becomes, the more frustrated people come, the more people will get on board, etc., etc. That's just the nature of the beast. That's the nature of football, but it's also the nature of social media and things like that. People have had enough. People are also looking for people to blame. How can you, I'm on about from Vincent Tan's point of view, how can he take the wins out of that protest going into the Swansea City game? Well, I would suggest having a former Swansea City manager who most people believe is too expensive for us would take the wind out of the sail of the protest. And let's be honest, Mr. Ownerman doesn't like the bad publicity, bruises his ego. So if he can get fans from a football point of view excited by bringing in Steve Cooper. I could see them doing that. And maybe that's just the cynical thing in me. It just feels very Vincent Tan-like. However, again, that's nothing but my own sort of creation, if you like, in my head. Because I do, like, so I heard, the one thing I will say of what I've heard is, right, I heard yesterday morning that we were talking to coaches again. I assumed that was to bring a coach in to help with Omar Rhys. I said weeks ago that we should be getting Jody Morris, or we should be getting Barry Murphy, or whoever, just get some coaches in to help him. He needs it because he's learning on the job. And now I'm thinking about it, and I've had like conversations with some of my mates and stuff for today, and I'm like, maybe we're not speaking to coaches to support him. Maybe they're speaking to coaches to replace him already, which is like, it just is such an indictment on, and it just encapsulates everything, which is shockingly bad about the way this football club is run. Like, when was he appointed? Months ago? Did they really want to appoint him when they did? I'm not entirely convinced by that. It was a weird time to do it, and it was just very odd, like, but I will say this, right? Steve Cooper, I rate him really, really super highly as a footballer. But as a football manager, sorry, I'm not sure what he can do with this club, with this squad, with this setup and this hierarchy. I'm not sure like what any manager can do with it, like, unless we bring in the structure, which we've all talked about a million times, and I don't want to talk it to death again. But do you know what I mean? Like, it's incredible. And the fact that we're talking, like, not necessarily that we're talking about him needing to, I'm not saying he needs to be replaced, but what I'm saying is I can almost guarantee that they're thinking it because of how we're run. And it's just a shambles. Holton says, was Bilic all bull? No, absolutely not. So if you remember, when I was speaking to Paul Abandonado the other day on one of the shows, we both said that we had sort of heard from really good place that there was a point where they were going to appoint Rhys, and he was going to have some coaches and stuff. And then that appointment and announcement never came, and it was really weird. And then about a month later, we ended up appointing him, but it was without coaches, and it was really strange. Well, when they were supposedly going to appoint him with coaches, one of the things which was knocking about was that there was going to be an out clause in January whereby they could kind of walk part terms without having to pay him off, essentially. And we all assumed that was for Bilic because he was always going to said he wasn't available till January. Like, I was a big I thought Bilic would have been a good appointment. I thought he ticked a lot of boxes, or ticked, out of all the managers that were kind of linked, I thought he probably ticked most of the boxes that you'd be looking for. Not all of them, and not maybe the perfect appointment. I still think Tony Mowbray was the perfect appointment. But Bilic ticks a few boxes. I'm not sure now that that's the case. Like, we're so on the brink now in terms of, like, if we have a bad sort of 4 or 5 games now, we're going to be rooted, and we even have danger of kind of drifting away and being down well early in the season on current form, I mean. And that's why I say, would we be better if you move Cooper aside? But, like, would you be better with an Allardyce? All right, maybe he doesn't want it. Or who was the other one that I saw someone suggest? David Moyes. So I think, and again, it's only my personal opinion, I think David Moyes and Sam Allardyce get an unfair reputation for the football they played, and, you know, the rest, like all the different things which come with it. I think it's particularly Sam Allardyce. I think he's largely responsible or largely a part of bringing in things like sports science and stuff like that into the British game, into the top level in British football. So, and I with the right people playing the channels is all right. Certainly at the moment, like I wouldn't mind seeing us play the channels and get in behind and stuff like that, because what we do at the moment isn't working. And I will say again, like I saw some people saying, I saw a post on social media yesterday saying system shit, squad shit, manager shit, blah, blah. I don't necessarily agree with that, but on current form, as Martin says there, it is painful to watch. But then you've also, so let's just take it away from speculation a little bit, okay? Got a bit carried away. Just talking all ifs and buts and maybes. But it's difficult because we all know how badly the clubs run. So you can kind of see it coming a mile off that if, say, we lose to Oxford, you could see them parting ways with Omar Rhys. You could see it coming a mile off because Cardiff as a club can't afford to get relegated. Vincent's hand can't afford to get relegated, and his ego again won't want that either. So they have to do it early. I don't want it to be the case. I would have much rather just have some semblance of a plan, but we don't have it. In terms of the game, it was nice to finally see Pacquiao. I wonder whether it was kind of not necessarily by design and more by necessity because we've run out of players, but it was good to see some of the youngsters on the bench. It was good to see Pacquiao get on. I thought he did all right. We need to get Darland up to speed and playing because we have already seen glimpses of what he's capable of. Games like yesterday will obviously knock his confidence and stuff like that. And it's strange because in the first half, I thought defensively, we looked all right. We didn't create anything. We had nothing really going forward. We didn't take care of the ball. But defensively, I thought we looked all right in the first half. It just kind of got weird. And frustratingly, obviously, Kiefer Moore scores 2 very good goals. I thought Darland for the first one just got distracted with trying to hold him instead of looking at the ball and defending properly. He was too busy trying to grab him. Hell of a finish. And look, Kiefer Moore is exactly what we need up front, which, one day I'm sure we'll find out the ins and outs of that because it looked like he was obviously coming last year and then it just all went belly up, as is the way with Cardiff. Willock, again, I thought looked decent. Injured now, so hopefully he's not another one with another hamstring who's out for weeks on end. But it's a problem, isn't it? For me, the one thing I think we have to do straight away from yesterday, we've got to look after the ball more. We have to look after the ball more. And what I will say is this, right, is early in Omar Rhys's reign, or when he first took over from Errol Bullock, he very much stuck to the same kind of 16 players, and others maybe didn't get as many opportunities. Well, with all these injuries, players will get opportunities now, and it's up to them to take it. I thought Kean Ashford had a really encouraging cameo. He was direct. He beat a man. But that's what I want to see from him. And I think, look, if we end up in a place where we give Pacquiao and Reindorf and Ashford a go, as fans, we have to take responsibility and go, right, if they don't play well or we lose, we know they're going to give 100%. We know they're going to have energy and we know they're going to give it their all. These are young players who arguably are or aren't ready for first team football regularly. But as fans, we have to manage each other's expectations of those players. It's one of them, like, if I saw anybody in our comments, for instance, criticising Reindorf, Pacquiao, Ashford, I'd be very, very disappointed because I think we're better than that. Like, regardless, even if we go down and we've only got the youth players playing, it's not their fault, is it? the end of the day, it's not their fault. They'll be proud to play for the club. They will give it their all. And, we've all been calling for them to play. Well, they might get their opportunity now. It's just that they're playing under immense pressure, even more pressure than you'd like to have them under, because we're simply going to be in a relegation battle with no injuries, and you're going to have to play youngsters. But this is what I will say. Youngsters are a strange breed. Like, they can play without fear. They will play with energy. They will play with pace. They will play football sharp and fast. The under-23s have been flying. Under-18s are flying. So those players, in some ways, may have more confidence than the players who've been playing in the first team all season, because they haven't got the, I don't know, for lack of a better word, they haven't got the trauma of this season and how bad it's been. They've actually been having a good season. So maybe they can give you a bit of a bounce. Fact Steve says, I'd recall Joel Colwell was short on numbers. Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? Like, I think if you'd asked me like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I'd have said no. I think I did say no, keep him at Cheltenham, or if you could move him to League One, move him to League One, because it's better for his development. But like, when you look at our bench yesterday, we are down to the bare bones. Like, we're down to the youngsters. So we have to find a way. Now, you'd hope having, Darren Percy involved in the first team will help those players settle and get on. Sue says they're both young lads, had a real positive 10 minutes against top of the side. I would start them against Oxford. And this is the other problem as well, not with that, but like, Oxford sacked their manager, who I really like, Des Buckingham. I think he did a tremendous job, and he plays real good football. I like him. They took that decision, which I thought was quite a brave decision, to sack him, a good manager, established manager who's been there for a bit, who the players liked. They sacked him. They got Gary Rout in straight away. They have been in poor form, Oxford have. So you would have fancied playing them. But with a new manager, they might have a bit of a bounce in them. So we've got to match that. And I think as a team, as a club, whatever, the manager, the coaches, they've got to take the positives from yesterday. Difficult, but you got to try and find some. So let's try and find some positives from yesterday. I thought Willock was good. Obviously, he could be injured, so we don't know. I thought Bagan was fine, really good. I got no problem with Joe Bagan, and I wouldn't be against, if one of those centre-backs gets injured or needs a break, I wouldn't be against Joel Bagan going back into that back three if, we got someone who's maybe a bit more attacking, or bring in one of the youngsters there, I say. I thought Mate did all right. I thought El Ghazi did all right. I thought Siopis, defensively, I thought he was good. On the ball, some of those same issues really bared their head again. And I thought we were kind of past that. But I thought defensively he did all right. And, his energy, and he's one for the battle, I suppose. Robertson, like, apart from Darland, who had a bit of a mare, got punished for two mistakes, I thought we were all right. Like, you're playing top of the league, so you've got to bear that in mind. And they're in good form. They've got a striker who's scoring goals. They've got some good footballers within their team. So it's going to be a difficult game. It's going to be a bit backs to the wall. You're going to have to rise your luck a little bit. But then you look at the bench. I've come to the conclusion that Will Fish doesn't exist. He's just a figment of everyone's imagination. But you've got Tom Davis, who's, really highly rated youngster. Troy Perrott, Kean Ashford, K. Pacquiao, and then, the usual suspects. I tend to agree with Sue. If Tanner's out, I think we need a bit of pace. Someone just said, Martin says 3 at the back doesn't suit us. I kind of disagree, because I think it gives us a bit more protection. However, it doesn't help that all our centre backs look a bit low on confidence. So the way we set up with Gutierrez in the middle, Chambers and Darland, I'm looking for two things for them. One, they cover the flanks, maybe not so much yesterday because you had more of a flat five at times, but generally they'll cover the flanks when the ball goes in behind the wing back. And then second of all, you're looking for them to progress it through the midfield, bring it into the midfield to create numbers when you've got possession of the ball. And then obviously when you lose possession, you're looking at Willock and El Ghazi to kind of drop in to create the box. But they're still learning it a little bit. I thought Pacquiao looks stronger than he did in pre-season physically. And he's not, he's not ready for week in, week out championship football. But in winnable games, I do think it's time, in this system particularly, it's time we start getting some pace and youth in the wide areas. I've been saying all since pre-season, since the end of last season, Louis Giles is such a good wing back. His delivery of crosses is great as well, and he'll get overlaps and stuff like that. Is it time, if we're down to the bare bones, do we look at some of these young wing backs? And maybe you could go with a system as it is, but instead of playing like two number 10s behind the striker, do you go more with three in the middle of midfield and then two up front? Maybe that's the way to go. So you kind of keep the system, but tweak it. Like, we have to be flexible. Sue says, what's a striker? Yeah. The championship is a strange old strange old beast, and that was one of the reasons why I said I wouldn't be surprised if Cardiff got a 1-0 yesterday, just because it's just weird. Like, it can be going terribly wrong, and then suddenly you get a last minute equaliser, a last minute win, and you start picking up pace. Jonathan says we keep bigging Giles up, but Tom Davis was ahead of him on the bench. Yeah, Tom Davis is excellent, mate. Tom Davis, Giles, Pacquiao, someone else who I'm forgetting. They're all really Lawler. They're all really, really, really good young defenders, fullbacks, centre backs. They're all very, very flexible as well. They've been playing. Giles has played at centre back. Tom Davis has played at centre back. All really comfortable on the ball, and I don't think El Ghazi, I cannot see being capable of starting all the games over the festive period. So he's going to have to drop out at some point to give someone else a start. Manny Barton's flying in the 21, scoring goals for fun, skillful, pacey. Again, probably not ready for first team football, but we're down in numbers. Saturday is a weird one, right? If we pinch a goal, set piece or something, first half, and we have something to hold on to, it all becomes a very different game. And I really think first 45, 50 minutes, I thought we were all right. I'm not saying we were good, but I thought we were all right. The first Sheffield United goal, as I said, Darland's too focused on grabbing more. But I tell you what, it was out of a finish. People won't like it because everyone wants someone to blame, and it seems like Kiefer Moore was getting booed yesterday. Hell of a finish. The first one is not an easy finish at all, and it was very good. But what have we been begrudging, particularly with Tanner out? Pace, skill, creativity. Well, you've got Manny Barton, you've got Ashford, you've got Colwell's on the bench, you've got Reindorf. Obviously wasn't on the bench yesterday. Manny Barton. There's a couple of others. These young players, they're probably going to be in the squad, and they're thereabouts at different times. I'm a big believer in playing people who are in form, because when your confidence is up, you don't overthink things. So I'm sure if you spoke to Manny Barton at the moment, for instance, I think he scored like 4 in the last couple of games, 4 or 5 in the last few games. He's flying. He's just doing everything on instinct. And if you look back over the years, I saw someone just mention Fergie. That's what Fergie used to do quite often, is he would bring like a young striker in when they were banging form and give them 20 minutes off the bench. And so often they would pinch a goal. But it's a difficult period on and off the field because the crowds are getting lower. The fans are getting more frustrated. I've never seen so many people on social media kind of like, and I'm not criticizing them, by the way, I'm just saying, like openly saying, I can't do this anymore. I'm not going no more. Like I've never seen that before. It's difficult because I can sit here and say, come on, we've got to get behind the team. We've got to get behind this. Let's get behind the boys. We've got to stick together. We've got to try and get behind them because relegation will absolutely be disastrous for this club. And I don't think, I understand the romanticism of it, of going back to the old days when, you know, it's nostalgia in it. And we think back to when we all used to go and like in Division 1, Division 2, whatever. And it was like small crowds. It was passionate. It was full of vigor. The difference is, you've got some big clubs down in League One who are far better run than us, spend far more money, far more intelligently than us. There is absolutely zero guarantee that we go down to League One and do well, especially the way we're run. And I just think financially it'd be absolutely disastrous. Like Birmingham sell week in, week out in League One. We're not even getting remotely close to selling out. I have never seen, I can't remember a time when I've seen some, and obviously social media wasn't around back in the day. Everyone is so disillusioned. So it's very hard for me to sit here and say, come on, let's get behind the crowd. Let's do this. Let's do that. It's difficult. Part of the atmosphere in the ground, like obviously you've got the layout of the crowd and all that. We've talked about that for years since the stadium opened. Like the loudest part of Cardiff support is at the opposite end of the away fans. That obviously affects it. But equally, I don't think the players and the way we set up helps. We start so slow. We let the away teams settle onto the ball. You don't see a tackle in anger till later on in the game. Normally when we've conceded and we're losing and we've got to do something. Like we never start games fast and aggressive. And, you know, having had the privilege to speak to a lot of ex-players over the years, that's something that they used to say all the time. First 15 minutes at Newport Park or Cardiff City Stadium, just smash into people and press them high and really put them under pressure. So within 60 seconds to 2 minutes of that game starting, they know they're in a game. I don't see that. I see us sitting off, keep trying to keep hold of the ball. But what that does is it lets the other team do that too. And then they settle. And then by halftime, they start playing their football. And 9 times out of 10, the opposition team has far more confidence, far more form than us. And then it's just backs to the wall trying to stop teams from winning the game. And something's got to change with that. Like, of course, things have got to change in terms of off the field. We all know this. But on the field, things have got to change. In the stands, things have got to change. We've got to do something. We've got to rediscover the atmosphere and the passion that we had. Because let's be honest, right? When Vincent Tan fucks off, when the rest of them go, we're all still going to be there. And that's what you've got to remember. So, fuck them. Get behind the team and hopefully we can do stuff. But honestly, like, I saw people saying like, oh, Darland, sell him. It's like one bad game. Like, let him find his feet. No, nothing. And like I said, if I see people criticizing the young players, that'll be me. I'll lose my head then, because I just think, what are we doing? Like, we're losing ourselves as a football club. Or should I say, as a fan base. Like, I know social media, and this is why I stay off social media, because it's what it is. But like, negativity grows, doesn't it? And it festers and it grows so quickly. We all know how much negativity there is towards the board and the off the field and the structure, everything which we all know is wrong. But we have to win football matches, and the fans have a big part to play in that. Boxing Day is a massive game, because apart from the fact we need to beat Oxford, just for what it is, if we can go and put in a real good performance on Boxing Day and get 3 points and play well, but like, get 3 points is the main thing. But if you can go and play well, get 3 points, get a real good win, that can kickstart the season. Robert saying we should be grateful for players happy, grateful for players trying. Yeah, mate, you're not wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong, and I understand why people are pissed off, and I understand I'm pissed off. I'm frustrated, and as I started off at the start of the show, there's players within this squad who are absolutely taking the piss. Absolutely taking the piss. But what can you do? Like, at the end of the day, we all as fans want Cardiff City to succeed, and negative, toxic, whatever all these buzzwords that you want to say, just not going to help. Like, you got to try and get behind the team within that 90 minutes and lift them, because at the moment it's not great. But again, and I put this question in the title, how bad was it yesterday? Like, how badly did we play yesterday? We've got to find a way to create goals and goal scoring opportunities. In my eyes, like, what's the one thing which all defenders hate playing against? Is pace. Direct pace when they're defending someone who's got the ball, and when they've got the ball, being pressed and harassed. Two very little tweaks. Let's get Pacquiao on the right. Let's get Kean Ashford in there for a bit. Let's get Manny Barton on the bench for 20 minutes. Let's get Reindorf starting. And I agree with Martin. Like, it's so passive and so slow. Like, it feels like at the moment we're going down with a whimper. No one's fighting for it. You don't see anyone like really, really, and I mean like really fighting for every throw in, every ball, every tackle. It's very standoffish. Let's see what happened. I need to see something. I need to see some fight from some of these players. And that's like, I'm stuck a bit, because part of me wants to play the youngsters, a lot of them, and just say, go play. If we go down, we go down, but go play. Let's start building. But you can't do that. And then part of me thinks, well, do you know what? They will fight for the badge. They will give 100% at all times. They care, and they want to impress. So they're going to genuinely like go and try and do something. So let's maybe that injection of a group of young players, even if it's just, I know, like Davis or Giles on the left and Pacquiao on the right and Ashford up there, Reindorf up there, like just that pace and that energy might be the thing that triggers everyone. I always look back to that Southampton game last year when those youngsters, though Giles and Raheem Conte and a few others come in. It lifted the other players. We just don't play with no energy. So this is a personal opinion. No. But everyone's entitled to opinion, Alex, and I welcome, everyone's opinion, even when it's different to mine. He would never play for Cardiff again for me. It's just my opinion. People will disagree. Sue says, sorry, Cabba's playing on loan in Spanish second tier. Not doing much there or anywhere since he was our saviour. He seemed to enjoy it here. Sometimes, Sue, I've said this a lot, like sometimes a player can be absolutely dire at one club, or a manager or coach, or whatever. They can be terrible and look awful. And it's just going to the right club with the right manager, the right city, the right, like your family settled, whatever it may be, it's just the right fit. And then suddenly you look like a different player, different manager. Maybe he just liked it, I don't know. I never thought he was. I'm not as big a fan of him as some people were. Like, he scored some great goals. He was never like there. Oof. It sends a shiver down my spine, Jonathan. That will be the end, by the way. That'll be the dressing room. Paul says, sorry, Sheffield manager yesterday said that after the game, the pitch played slow. He's not the only one to point this out. And another thing that could be a cause of all these injuries. Could be, mate. Could be. Martin said there was no press yesterday until Pacquiao and Ashford come on. We retreated to the halfway line every time they get ball. Yeah, mate, it infuriates me. Everything's so easy. So easy. And it's incredibly frustrated by it. Because I believe that if we played with a high press and we just played with a bit of energy and pace, we'd straight away be better. So, yeah, it's interesting. Everyone's got an opinion, haven't they? John and Watkins, welcome to Patreon, mate, by the way. You've had a good few members joining recently, either on Patreon or through the channel, so thank you very much for that. Please do join in. We're going to have a members show tomorrow night. After the phone-in, it'll be 9 o'clock for members. The Cardiff City phone-in will be at 7 as normal. But, yeah, be good. John says, if we play the youngsters, we need experienced players to step up and help them through, which of our senior players would be able to do that? Well, I think the thing is, right, what you need is, and what can happen, and what happened a bit last year towards the end of the season, is when you saw the young players coming in, it gave the experienced players a bit of a lift, mentally, physically, whatever, because they got legs, and they're going to work hard, they're going to listen, and they're going to give their absolute all. They haven't got the ego, and they're not as coached and robotic as a lot of first team players are at all clubs. We might have no choice, by the way, but I just hope that people will be patient, even if we're like banging a relegation battle and we end up having to play a load of the youngsters. I really hope that people get behind them and don't start criticizing them, because it's not on them. And it's such a difficult situation to come into. Yeah, Martin makes a good point. He says Ruben noticeably had more verve when the younger players came on yesterday. Players on the same wavelength. Yeah, he's played with them. They know what he's going to do. He knows what they're going to do. Like I said before, or just now, they're not as like robotic and overcoached. So I think there's a lot of benefits to playing the youngsters. It's like, it is difficult because it's like, do you chuck them in? And then if it all goes tits up, that can damage them. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think Ashford should be given a go. I'd rather see Renamoto in midfield against Oxford over Siopis. If we were playing someone at the top, I'd say keep Siopis there. But I think against Oxford, I would either go with Renamoto. I would even contemplate playing Colwell in a slightly deeper role. But I think if Willock's injured, Colwell will probably go in with there. But I would move Renamoto into the middle and I'd play Pacquiao on the right. That's the first change I think I would definitely make at the weekend. And then, do you know what I would do against Oxford? I would play Ruben in for Willock, and I would give Al Ghazi a rest against Oxford, and I would put Ashford in there. So you've got Ruben and Ashford playing off probably Matty, maybe Robinson, because Ruben, Ashford, and Pacquiao will all be on the same wavelength. We saw glimpses of Willock's out. It's been announced. Yeah, there we go. Another injury. Like you saw glimpses of it last year with Ashford and Ruben. They're very much on the same wavelength and link up really, really well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Sue says 13 out of contract players. How do we sort that out without them knowing who they're going to play under? It's not just that, Sue. Who makes the decision on which ones should we keep and which ones we don't? Because in my opinion, that should be a football decision. Obviously, you have to take into account budget and things like that. But ultimately, that should be a football decision. And we haven't got a football person to make that decision. You've got Dan Ola there as well. Like, we got a lot of skillful, pacey young players. What do we lack? Pace, skill. Yeah, Jamalu Collins. Yeah, he's done. I thought Joe Bagan had a good game yesterday. I know I saw a couple of comments earlier, people saying they're not that confident in Chambers, but I thought he did all right yesterday. It's just frustrating. But I also think we need to get the right players in and around Robertson. Like Robertson is the one player who's really high quality passer in that sort of midfield. And if you've got pacey wing backs trying to get forward and get in behind, he will find them. So if you can have pacey wing backs, young wing backs going up and down the line, and then have Ashford sort of trying to get in behind and break the lines from a bit deeper, and then have Ruben finding pockets of space. Alex Robertson's perfectly capable of finding those places. So yeah, it's not all doom and gloom, I suppose. Martin says I would guess that we let all 13 go. It's remarkable, really, when you think of it. Curtis says, I don't think we'll be buying players in January. No. Unless the only way I see us spending money on players in January is if we appoint a manager, a permanent manager, before the January window. If we have an interim manager or a manager till the end of the season, I'd be very surprised if we spend any money on players to buy players. I think we will try and get some loans in, I would expect. Yeah, sure. Like there's players within those 13 out of contract that you should absolutely be trying to keep. Like O'Dowda, I think, has shown. Ironically, he's injured now, but I think he's shown a really good level of fitness this year, and you've seen the form and the quality he's got because of it. But maybe they want to do like we talked about. We've talked about it. Maybe we talked about that having potentially in about 18 months to 2 years, we could have a whole team which are currently under 24, 25. Maybe Cardiff as a football club will look at that and go, no, do you know what? We're going to let all these players go and we're going to build the youth. So it'll be interesting which of the 13 we keep. So let's have a look. You've got obviously Kanga's on loan. I'm assuming he'll go back. He might even go back earlier. Gutas out contract. Before this year, I would have said no, let him go. I would offer him a 1-year deal to act as an experienced support defender for the others, but I don't think it's essential. So it depends on his wages and stuff like that. El Ghazi only signed a year contract at the moment. I'd probably let him go, but I think you could see why you might keep him because of the potential to go back to the level he was at. But at 29, I think he's probably one that you let go. Callum Robinson. So, interestingly, Gutas, El Ghazi, Robinson, O'Dowda, Matey are all 28 and up. And then you've also got Joe Rolls, who's 31, Ramsey, 33, Jamalu Collins, 30. Will the club look to move them out now their contracts are out? And kind of go that way? Like, it's a very interesting one because, you know, last year under Buller, it was very, very apparent that we were an aging team. Now we've got a lot of good young players. So could you guys see a situation where we let most of those players go when their contracts are up? Like Rinamoto's contract's up, he's only 27. Kian Atete's contract's up, but we do have an option for a further year on his. Isaac Davis's contract's up. I would like, what do you do? It's interesting. Like, there's some really interesting names on that list. And part of me thinks the club might just not sign any of them. For whether it be for budget reasons or football reasons. It's a mad situation to be in. Who would I keep for definite? Who would I want to keep for definite? Alnwick. I'd offer Ramsey a player coach role, maybe. Rinamoto, maybe. Isaac Davis, maybe. I think he's got to show that he can be at it when he comes back. O'Dowda, I'd probably keep, even though he's getting towards that sort of older thing. I think with him, he can play wing back, he can play left wing, and he can play left back as well as he gets older. So I would probably keep O'Dowda. I think he's done enough to show. I'm kind of struggling a bit after that. Like, there's no one there which is jumping out and going, I would keep them. We've got the 7th highest wage bill in the league. So maybe the likes of El Ghazi, Robinson, Matey, Rolls, Jamalu Collins, maybe they will go. I'm interested, like, out of the 13, who would you keep? How many of those 13 are injury prone, says Martin. Well, I'll read them out to you. Alnwick, Rinamoto, Jamalu Collins, Ramsey, Atete, Rolls, Isaac Davis, Matey, Callum O'Dowda, Callum Robinson, El Ghazi, Gutas, and obviously Kanga goes back. I think some of them, a few of them out injured at the moment. So, yeah, look, it is difficult, and I would never advocate for someone to lose their job. But Cardiff have got to get this. They've got to get it right and retain the players. I think Jamalu Collins will be gone in January, mate, and I don't expect him to be playing anytime soon. Would you keep El Ghazi? If you had to decide today and his wages were reasonable, would you keep him? Would you sign him? Would you give him like a 2-year deal? Or would you just let him go in the summer? That's a really interesting one. Because if you're keeping him, you're kind of keeping him on the hope that he can get back to his previous championship form, because he hasn't really shown it for us. That's a really interesting one. Curtis says, I think Atete has to be a keep because he's got potential. Wow. Fact, Steve, Andrew, and Jonathan all say El Ghazi probably doesn't justify staying. I think the only ones who are definite yeses for me on there is O'Dowda, Alnwick, and Alnwick's 31, but a keeper, I suppose. So Alnwick, probably Rena Mota, and then I'd give Ramsey a player coach role. Isaac Davis is one. I would like to see him flourish at Cardiff City, and I actually think this season, this system will really suit him. I just hope that he can get back into the first team and get a chance before we kind of before the season's over. A few people saying El Ghazi's been poor. I think I agree with that. Paul El Ghazi, I think he needs a good hard preseason. People forget he hadn't played for 18 months. He hadn't kicked the ball. That's such a long time for a professional to miss that intensity in training. So I understand it's taken him a long time. Jonathan says if we're in League One next season, Kian Atete might come good if he stays fit. Alex said he'd keep Joe Rawls in League One. Steve says read them all. Yeah, everyone else can go. Well, I think I'd like to see Isaac Davis succeed. Reno, we'd keep, the rest can go, he says. Yeah, I thought Alnex looked a bit ropey the last couple of games, I got to be honest. But then I'm not a massive Howworth person. Vincent says Mate, Kanga, El Ghazi, Paul need to go. Yeah, look, if the worst happens and this is our year and we go down, do you think we'll end up with pretty much all the youngsters playing next year with one or two experienced ones? Josh on X says, see, I knew you could comment on X. You have to let people know how you can do that, mate. He says he'd only keep O'Dowda, Isaac Davis, and Rawls in the Championship. League One, I'd be keep Atete as well. The rest of them are pants. Wow. And this is also part of the problem. So you've got 13 players out of contract. There's 13 players who don't know what they're doing next year. There's 13 players who've got one eye on the exit door, and those players are all first teamers. They're the ones we're relying on to keep us up. So, mentally, are they there? Are they at it? Are they all playing for a new contract? Or are they all thinking, oh, I can go on a free in the summer and get money from somewhere else? It's a tricky one. Suze says, I still don't think we'll go down, congested down there. A couple of results changes things. Many teams in the same battle predicament. Yeah, I still think that we are capable of building a run. But I think this Christmas, New Year period is so vital. We just have to find a way to string a couple of results, because then I think we can really kick on, especially if we start blending in the youngsters, whether it's through tactics or necessity, because they'll give us the pace and the energy that we're lacking. They'll speed things up on and off the ball. Martin says, El Ghazi's got great movement, but crucially, he's lost a yard of pace. Will he regain it? It's difficult to see in it, because is it because he's so out of the regiment of training day in, day out and playing week in, week out? And is that why he looks like half a yard off it? Or has he just lost half a yard because of his age? In which case he wouldn't get it back. But I'd like to see him with a full preseason, because we know he's got the quality in his locker. Jonathan said it's hard to make a case for Davis. I really like him, but he's always injured. How many years do we wait hoping he comes good? Curtis says, do you think Howworth will leave? Yes, I do. I just think he'll want to play. I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves in January. I think he'll want to try and win his international place back in the starting 11. So he's got to play games to do that, really. We have to find a way to score goals. Yeah, it's one of them. It's such a difficult one. Just in terms of scheduling and this week and stuff. there's going to be another video dropping after this, probably about 9:30 to 10 o'clock, which is the number 3 in the Christmas countdown, which will then go. Please do check out all the Christmas countdown videos where we look at a different person or a different player from the history of the club. So number 3 will drop after this. I got to record it, so it'll probably be about 10 o'clock when it comes out. Tomorrow night, obviously, you've got the Cardiff City phone in at 7 o'clock. Members, there's a show at 9 o'clock. Tuesday, I'm not sure what'll be out. It'll probably just be like a short video or something. But there'll also be the Christmas countdown. We will also have a Christmas Day podcast, which is me, Matt, and Rhys discussing our all-time Cardiff City 11. So if you are wanting some Cardiff City content on Christmas Day, it will be there for you. There'll still be content every day. There might not be as much live content, but there will be live content on the days there's games. There will be some sort of preview the night before games. And then there will also be a breakdown podcast and stuff like that. So the breakdown and the post-match games will still be live. The rest might be a bit of a mixture. But 7 days a week, Cardiff City, by fans, for fans. Please support the channel. Please subscribe. Would love to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark by the end of this year. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're just going to miss out. But please make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. All that good stuff. Appreciate all the interaction. Appreciate all the comments. Josh says, I much prefer this system, by the way. So if we can get some pace out wide, I think it'll work. Yeah, mate, 100%. I agree. I do think 2 of the right signings with this system, and I think we'll be all right. But I also agree with Phil, who says we're lacking goal scoring, defending, and leadership. That can only lead to one thing. I think defensively, we will be all right. But Darland has got to get up to speed quickly. Well, of course, we lack leaders. Please do subscribe, all that good stuff. And spread the word. Tell your Cardiff mates. Cardiff City content, 7 days a week. It's the way to go. You know it. In a bit, make sure you enjoy your time with your family. And I'll see you soon. I can't end the stream because my screen's frozen. So I'm going to keep talking until I can. All good. Take it easy, my friends.